Tri-City Sports Now. I'm Marky Billson, and on the line, and I hope it's not for one of the last times, but it probably will be for one of the last times, as the president of the Appalachian League is Lee Landers. He is the president and has been since 1996, and I want you to know that I've always appreciated how Lee Landers, a longtime baseball guy who I guess your first baseball job in the front office was working in the St. Louis Cardinals organization in 1959. But here's a guy who's always been honest, a little low-key, but that's fine, and also has seen over the last 22 years in the Appalachian League a lot of changes, and I want to ask him about those here in just a minute. But Lee Landers, Appalachian League, well, we're just concluding its first week of the 2018 season, so I want to ask you, I mean, when I look back to 1996, you know, there were different teams, there were different ballparks, all of this would have been some, or should I say at least, changes in the ballparks from then and now. What have been the biggest changes that you think have occurred in the Appalachian League in your 22 years at the helm as the president?
I think the biggest thing, Marky, is how we operate. We have professionals running the club. In those days, you know, you had some people that were doing it out of the goodness of their heart, and they would close shop when the season was over and wake up again in April or so. We have really professionals running our clubs now that take the time. It's a year-round proposition. I kept preaching that we're professional baseball. We need to start acting like professionals, and that's my biggest accomplishment, because everything else spins off of that. How we operate, how we keep our ballparks. They go to the promo seminars. They get new ideas. It all comes from being a professional in anything you do.
Well, you know, you mentioned that, and it is something I talk about. There still is a little bit of that mom and pop in the Appalachian League. I don't think that's deniable, but when you see the ballpark improvements, and just like you say, let's take a look at, say, Johnson City. When you came in, that was run as a nonprofit organization. Now it's being run by a professional organization, Boyd Sports, who also runs Greenville and the Tennessee Smokies. And I remember you saying this once to a Society of American Baseball research meeting that I was at Cardinal Park years ago. And you said, you know, in terms of promotions, just putting up free night like it used to be with, say, Johnson City on the 4th of July, that's not going to do it. And now we see all these different promotions, and the Cardinals, for instance, drawing more fans than ever before. I know last year you spoke a little bit of wanting to expand the footprint of the Appalachian League. You've got 10 teams in right now, but do you think that there will be more coming in, or could there be relocation of some teams that will expand the geographic footprint of the league?
All of the above, Marky. We're spelled out right now because the New York Penn League had to take over one of their franchises, the Batavia franchise, and until Minor League Baseball sees what they're going to do with Batavia, there's going to be an owner going to there that's going to put a new ballpark in. Is it going to have to relocate? Then we're on hold. It's the same thing. We had the directors, who are the director of player personnel for the clubs that are in our league, had voted to expand, and we were going to go to Kinston and North Carolina, and one of the two between Greenville, North Carolina, and Fayetteville, North Carolina. But then the California League and the Carolina League, California League dropped two clubs, and the Carolina picked them up. And that put us on hold because they have their own clubs. The Rangers are in Kinston, and Houston is going to be in Fayetteville. They're at the university there right now, but their ballpark will be ready next year. So we've been on hold. And then you look at the map and see where you can go that we're not in somebody else's territory, that a reasonable distance to the other club in the league, Marky, and that that kind of limits where you can go. We have looked at Beckley, but we're really in Charleston's market, but we could have gone there, but again, that didn't work out. We're looking at a couple other places right now, but I'd rather not deal in hypotheticals and wait till things happen before we make any announcements, and there's no announcement forthcoming. So.
Yeah, I've only got a minute and a half, but so I know everyone wants to hear about Elizabeth then and possibly what's going on at the Pinnacle with the Bristol franchise and such. But and so I do want to get to that, but I'm talking to Lee Landers, who is the president of the Appalachian League. This is his final year at the helm, and some of the changes that have been made. I was talking a little bit about expanding the geographic footprint. I want to ask you, and this is difficult because I've got a minute and it's a hard break, so you can see that I'm trying to pan this out. But you mentioned Beckley, Huntington, West Virginia. They used to be in the league about 28 years ago or so. We were affiliated with the Cubs. They led the league in attendance. Huntington's a good sports town in Marshall. When we come back, I want to ask you why it's never worked out for Huntington. Is it that there isn't the ownership? Is the ballpark there stink? That sort of thing. And then we'll get into the future of what's going on here locally with the Appalachian League. So again, forgive me for kind of drawing this out. We've got Lee Landers with the Appalachian League. It's in its first week. It's going all through August. And you know what? It's been some entertaining baseball. A lot of good pitchers and first-round picks in the league this year. Tri-City Sports Now will come back after this. Forgive me for that.